Yes, it's 3:36. A little late for our 3:30 meeting, but I will call the meeting to order at 3:36 p.m. Welcome our guests that are both with us today and participated on the call-in line. And the first order of business is approving the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Cooper, to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the agenda is approved. Item 2, public comment. We welcome any public comment on any county issue that's not on our agenda. We'd like you to wait until the time that we can talk to it if you'd like. Really, anything else that's not on the agenda, we're open to hearing from you. So is there any public comment from anyone that's here at the meeting today? Anyone listening on the phone lines who'd like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll move to agenda item 3, which is review and action regarding the February 12, 2024 minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the February 12, 2024 minutes.
I'll second.
Now, we have 2 meetings minutes from February 2012, so is your motion to approve both the Board of Supervisors and the joint supervisors and zoning commission meetings?
If I can include both in the motion, that's what I would like to do.
Yes, you can. Is there a second for that vote?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of both meetings that occurred on February 12th, 2024. The meetings were of the regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors and the special joint workshop listening post meeting of the zoning commission and Board of Supervisors. Any comment from anyone listening on the phone line about those minutes? Hearing none, those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. The minutes of both meetings are approved. Number 4, review action regarding approval of claims.
All we did was these handwritten claims,
Yes.
and Glory handed them to me and asked us that we sign them.
Okay.
Those are ones you had all been called on by the department heads.
Yeah, I have not seen them, so this is my first opportunity to take a look at them. Yeah. Supervisor Jorgensen, you're seeing them?
I have none.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Fine. Well, I'm complete. Yeah.
You didn't make a motion, did you? You didn't make a motion to approve the claim, did you?
No. Do we have to, we do it this way?
I would say so, since, otherwise they just be next week's meeting, but.
So is there a motion to approve the claims?
Also move.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the handwritten claims. Which is a little out of the norm because we didn't have normal claim run because of the timing of this meeting. So that was discussed at our last meeting. So, those in favor of approving these handwritten claims, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. We're gonna skip to item 5, just very briefly. I haven't signed it. I'll do that in a minute. We're gonna skip to item 6 actually, which is updates on various boards, commissions, and activities since the last meeting. And the reason I wanted to jump over that and just wait to talk to Denise, our guest, here today is, I attended a CSS County Social Services, HR meeting today. And at that meeting, we discussed what would the rate increase be for county social services or health insurances. And county social services increases in the 0%. So they've got an incredible, this year was great. They didn't have any increases. And so we went around the room, members of that committee, and I said, well, we're gonna have 4%. And Tama County said, we're gonna have 4%. And both Floyd and Tama are represented by HCP, who's our guest here today. There were counties that were there that were talking about 11% increases in their health insurance for this year. So, those of us who were less than that, or even 0, we're very pleased with that. I returned from that meeting and tried to get online. I represent the county on the, Floyd Mitchell, Chickasaw, ECI, government group. And try as I may, both online and on the phone, I could not attend that meeting. It was disappointing. It was gonna be a 2-hour meeting long. I couldn't get on it. So I sent an email that the phone call-in line that I worked, tried to get on, was not operative. And, try as we may to make these internet and convenient ways to attend a meeting work, sometimes they just don't work. It's best to attend the meeting if you possibly can, and so I reported that to the people that were in charge, so, let's see. That meeting, this meeting were the meetings that I worked on and the issues that I worked on the past week. So, gentlemen, what did you do the past 10 days?
The only one I had was last week's, joint meeting with planning and zoning.
I also attended the, wind turbine planning and zoning meeting, it's also part of both of you, and, today I had a meeting right before this one with the Cedar Valley Transportation Center out there, and, they're, very brief, direct meeting, they're working on an upgrade for the fuel pumps and, the billing, basically. Also, they are working with, Jason on, a weather station, if I'm not mistaken, if I said that right. I think they're gonna mount a weather station out there, and, so that was, the fuel pump upgrade is a $24,000 deal, which amounts to, it'll be split between the state, county, and city. And, so that's kind of where I'm at for meetings.
Supervisor Kiefer, did you attend the asset management committee this morning?
I did. Should I have included that in?
Probably.
Oh, okay. I attended the asset or area development meetings, also the, and see the North Iowa Aviation Authority. I attended that meeting this afternoon at 1 o'clock, so. Those would be in addition to the planning and zoning, so.
Sometimes these meetings, when I attended was in Waterloo, and sometimes they just schedule them so you can't get to all of them, so on those occasions, we have alternates amongst the board who attend, and so that's how Dennis ended up at that asset management committee meeting this morning.
And I should add that the Development Corporation is planning on building a multi-unit affordable housing complex south of the hospital on the property they own out there. They had some preliminary drawings of that and it looks pretty nice, so. Yep.
Well, good. Is there any further updates on board commissions activities by the supervisors?
I have none.
All right, moving back, Denise, Mallory, we're here to discuss, employee health and dental insurance rates. We had a discussion about this. Auditor Carr briefed us on what, we had, and we looked at our current rates and some options, so, you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to start on page 2. The IGHCP board did approve the annual renewal it's been probably about 3 weeks ago now at the annual conference. So as mentioned previously, the IGHCP renewal this year is 4%. Every group that participates in the Iowa Governmental Healthcare Plan receives the same renewal regardless of what's going on with claims in those individual groups. So the whole idea is that IGHCP provides protection to groups as they have, up years, down years. It provides kind of a slow, steady rate for all membership. Currently, we have 47 entities and about 11,000 members. So last year when I was here, we've grown since then. I think we're up about nine groups since this time last year when I was here. We have about 4 or 5 that are looking at us for July of 24. So I do anticipate additional growth between now and then. On page 3 is a snapshot of Floyd County's savings analysis with IGHCP. So the top section is going to be a summary of all of the numbers in the center of the page. We use this benchmarking to show you your year-over-year rate changes and increases. Upon entry into IGHCP, when you guys came into our plan in 2019, we were able to save the county about 15%. So we reduced your costs by 15% upon entry. Since joining IGHCP, your insured premium, this is the money that goes to Wellmark, Blue Cross Blue Shield, has increased at a rate of 0.9% year over year. We've decreased your partial self-fund in that same time period of a negative 4.1%. So your average increase with all costs in, this is going to include premium, self-funding, any fees that you pay, your average year over year cost increase has been 0.8%. Again, that center area there is the numbers that I used to pull the summary that I just reviewed. On page 4, you'll see your claims by month. So this is specific to Floyd County. You guys had an excellent year. Your claims are running quite well. So you can see by looking at this in the 2023 calendar year, on average, you had 98 employees participate in your program, 213 when you add their dependents and spouses. The premium paid to Wellmark is 1.5 million, with claims being paid just over $1 million to create a 65% loss ratio. So we'd expect a group your size to run around 80%. So you guys, again, had a great year. The next page on page 4 is going to be a snapshot of the partial self-fund claims utilization. I'm sorry, page 5. Did I say 4? So page 5. On page 5, you'll see for the 23-24 plan years, we're just 6 months in relative to our reporting data. 6 months in, the amount that you've paid us for your claims is $83,247. We've paid $76,189 for an over of $7,058. So when you have a claims month or a series of months that are lower than what you've given us for funding, that just goes to your reserve. If you have months where your claims are higher than what we've collected in claims funding, we'll pull from your reserve. So that overage of 7,000 would go to your reserve. On page 6 is the large claimants associated with Floyd County's plan. These are gonna be members covered under your insurance that have had a single diagnosis code where that claim has reached $10,000 or greater. To help you better understand this report, if you go, the first 3 columns are really gonna be irrelevant. The 4th column in, it says REL. If there's an E in that column, that's gonna be indicative of an employee of Floyd County. An S would be a spouse and a D would be a dependent. Following across then, the next column indicates cancel or active. If it says cancel, that means the member is no longer covered under your plan. They've either terminated, retired, they're no longer part of your insurance population. So your highest claimant there, as you can see, has been canceled. That risk was removed from your plan prior to us calculating your renewal. So that didn't offset or hurt your renewal. You have a couple cancels on there. About halfway down the page, you'll see a second one. And then just about at the bottom, you'll see a third cancel. The rest are all active under your plan.
And so unfortunately, in maybe one or more of these cases, because of the death of that person. Is that correct?
It could be. Yeah. Yeah, we are splitting the claims. You can now see, so for that individual, the claims were 100,000. 98,000 of that, almost 99,000 of that was paid to medical, and 1,382 was for prescription drugs. But if you go a few more down, you'll see, on a $76,000 claim, 40,000, almost, 40,000 was all pharmacy. So we've started splitting that out as pharmacies becoming a bigger portion of our claims pay. On page 7, you'll find your receipts and disbursements report. This report is sent to the auditor's office on a monthly basis by EBS's accounting department. The purpose of this report is to show the activity of the consolidated billing feature. So Floyd County receives a consolidated bill monthly from EBS. The top section of this report is going to reflect the monies that you paid EBS by month. And then the bottom section of the report is going to show how we dispersed those dollars. At the very bottom, then you'll see all of your account balances. Your partial self-fund or PSF account balance is the first one listed there. If you go all the way to the right side of the page, that $18,000 number reflects what's in your reserve account right now or through December.
That's the reserve account at the
Our
Two
place,
Rivers,
yes.
not our reserve account.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next, you'll find an overview of your current benefits. These are the benefits that are in force today. There are a few changes as we look towards July of '24. The first change being as it relates to your doctor's office copay. You have a doctor's office copay of $20. So when you have an employee that goes to, whether they go to a chiropractor or a neurologist or a nurse practitioner, the copayment upon visit due that day's service is $20. Starting in July, Wellmark is going to be reducing that copay to $15 or a $5 reduction if you're receiving your services from a primary care physician. So a primary care physician is going to be a general practitioner, a nurse practitioner, pediatrician, OBGYN, or internal medicine. Those are considered general practitioners and are really where we encourage employees to have their medical home. You know, somebody that's kind of keeping track of all of their various doctor's office visits and facility charges and facility visits. So it's been proven that if people have a medical home, somebody that's kind of keeping track of those things, medical outcomes are better, hospital readmittance are lower. So we're just trying to encourage employees to pick a primary care physician, one of those 5, use that primary care physician for your wellness and your non-chronic situations, like if you need a strep test or something like that. And the reward for seeing one of those types of physicians is a $5 discount on your copay. So on those dates of service, your employees will be told or charged $15 as opposed to $20. The other change is in the area of specialty drugs. Wellmark has partnered with Prudent RX. Prudent RX is a innovative way that they're using to help save money on specialty meds. We have a list of specialty medications. We'll be reaching out to employees directly on this, but I have a few leave behinds that describes the benefit and what medicines are included. Currently, all of the medicines on this list are $85 a month or a fill. For $85, 30-day prescription is the cost today. These drugs are going to be accessible to your employees beginning July 1st at no cost. So we're going to reduce that from $85 a month for those scripts to $0. And Wellmark is doing that in part with the manufacturer because there's some manufacturer discounts and so forth where we can get those co-payments down to nothing for your employees. So for the employees that aren't taking those medications and don't see a general practitioner or a PCP, they won't see any changes. They won't pay $1 more for their health insurance experiences than they are today. But those that are participating in one of these specialty drugs or use a primary care physician will see some incentive beginning July 1st. Other than that, there are no changes for your upcoming plan year. On page 9 is your health insurance renewal. As I mentioned in the beginning, the renewal's 4%. So I want to take a minute to show you how we calculate that. If you look in the top gold section of this page, you'll see the Wellmark premium, top left side Wellmark premium. If you follow that along, you'll see that Wellmark premium is $803.32 on a single and $2,008 on a family. That's the portion of your premium that's increasing by 4%. So if I apply 4% to those two numbers, drop down to right below to the gray box in the red font. That number becomes $835.45. That's your new Wellmark premium. $2,088.64 is the new family Wellmark premium in red. If we make no other changes, we don't increase your funding. There are no fee increases, so those are remaining the same. That has a net impact to Floyd County of 3.54%. So your renewal for 7/1 of 24 is 3.54%. It's lower than 4 because we're only applying that 4% to one premium component, not to all. So 3.54. Any questions on that? In there, that 3.54% is indicative of a new total annual cost of $1.7 million number there. Inside that 1.7 million is $166,474. You'll see that number right below. That's the money that we're going to pull out of that 1.7 million for your partial self-fund claims payments. So we're going to be collecting that from you in 1/12 increments through the consolidated bill. So on this next page, page 10, I just want to review the risk that the county takes by utilizing partial self-funding. Once a claim reaches $7,350, Wellmark pays 100% of that claim. So if we subtract from the $7,350 what the employee's liability is, because your employees have an out-of-pocket that they have to pay annually, we're going to subtract that $2,000 from the $7,350. That leaves $5,350. That is the county's liability. So on any single claim, the most you'll ever pay for that claim is $5,350. So if you have a $2 million premature baby, you're not exposed to that. You're only exposed to the $5,350. So the risk in partial self-funding is very mitigated compared to fully self-funded. So looking at your total risk, we're currently funding that at 22.55%, and we're putting that $166,474 aside to pay your claims.
You explained on the single side.
Family is
Works
2
out.
times, yep.
How about the numbers on the family side? Because the 2,000 became 4,000, how does that work?
So if you have a family contract, there's 2 deductibles and 2 out-of-pocket maximums per family. So let's say you have a family of 4. Only 2 people have to hit those maximums, not all 4.
So the county risk is just double.
Yes,
for a family.
It is.
Compared to a single.
yep,
In dollars.
yes,
Okay,
a maximum of doubled, yeah.
so that's a great benefit to the family plan.
It absolutely is, yeah, once that second
really
person
is.
hits, they're off the hook. So then I just wanted to give you a little bit of claims history here. You can see, you're having a pretty good year on your partial self-funds. However, we're annualizing just 6 months of data, so that's hard to do. I'd feel more comfortable if we were at 7 or 8 months, but, what you're putting in your plan for partial self-funding is right on target with what you're using. So, and I do forget that you have a separate fund internally. So I did run an additional renewal to show you increasing that amount, but I don't think that's necessary because of that additional fund, right?
Right. I've kept us at, well, what I reviewed with you was a 3 point, on the health side was not much different. than-
Okay, roughly 3.5%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip page 11. I don't think it's real, relevant, again, because of that separate fund that you have. I don't think we need to overfund. I just don't think that's probably a great use of your dollars.
Mhm.
So we'll just skip page 11 and land on the 3.
So basically, if I were to look at that and just take the difference between the 191 and 166,000, I just, as long as my funds got about that much, I'm
Yes.
covered.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly right.
And so we're.
Perfect. Your dental plan is running high. And we've had a number of conversations about this internally. We currently have several quotes. We're gonna visit with you about, so I checked prior to the meeting and they're in, so I'll schedule a call with you
Okay.
upon return. So 13% increase on dental. Granted, 13% sounds really high. If you look at the actual rate increase, the single would be going from 43.76 to 49.78. So it's a big increase, but on a small number. So in dollars, it's not a lot, but anything over a 5%, we always quote the market to see what we can do to better the situation.
So are your options then going to, back out to say Delta or?
Yeah, so IGHCP has a Delta dental option and a blue dental option, both fully insured and self-funded, so that's 4 total options, and then we have another option with EBS, so we'll present 5. And on the dental, what portion of that is employer versus employee dollars?
So what I proposed to the board is, the county only pays $18 towards a single plan and $52 towards a family plan. And I proposed that they increase that to $20 on a single, so $2 additional on a single, $6 more on a family. So
58, 20,
18 to 20 and 52 to 56.
50,
52 to 58,
Yeah.
yeah,
okay.
$6 increase.
Okay, so when we get together with those options, we'll show you the cost analysis both ways.
There was also general discussion when the supervisor met about increasing the total amount of the deductible. I know Supervisor Jorgensen brought that up as a possible way to reduce the expenditure, so.
On the dental or the medical?
Medical.
Okay, so on the medical, my advice to you will be, as you look at those other options or request for me to run those other options, focus on the out-of-pocket maximum. I really can't capture any savings for the county by changing the deductible. You have to move the out-of-pocket to get savings to the county. Does that make sense? Because the deductible is part of the out-of-pocket. So if you go back to page 10,
Okay.
remember I said 5350 is the county's risk?
Yeah.
So if we move that to 2,500, if we make the employees out of pocket 2,500, that's gonna increase the employee liability, but reduce the county liability. It doesn't do anything to change the deductible. So you could keep their deductible right where it's at. you could keep the $750 deductible, but maybe make the out-of-pocket maximum 2,500 instead of 2,000. And I'd be happy to run something like that, or
Okay, well,
2,200,
we were just kind of,
kicking it
I
around.
guess looking at it in a little different way, we didn't understand it.
I didn't understand that, we should just explained it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really need to change the out-of-pocket maximum to move the lever.
Okay. Well, give us a little bit of some figures.
Yeah,
All right,
What is the, plan options? What's the highest that, what options do you have? I know there's multiple plan options, but I was out of pocket.
I wouldn't need to change your Wellmark plan. I would only have to change the partial self-funding. So that's just done internally. You'd be on the same Wellmark chassis. We would just, right now, you're on a 2,000, 4,000 out-of-pocket maximum, which is the average. You're right at average for IGHCP's out-of-pocket maximum.
Yeah.
You're not high, you're not low, you're right smack in the middle. And I've got some benchmarking here in a couple of minutes and you'll see that.
so what's a high number?
I would say probably our highest out-of-pocket maximum is probably 3,000 on a single, 6,000 on a family.
Okay, just didn't know, so,
Yeah.
all right.
So that takes us to page 13, which is your life insurance renewal. There's no changes in your life insurance or changes in the premiums. 0% renewal and benefits would stay the same.
And how many people do we have in, like, how many people are utilizing this?
On the life insurance?
Yeah,
I don't have a copy of the bill with
We
me.
don't have life insurance on ours.
so 0.
So 0. So this is, you guys aren't participating. So these are the rates if you want to.
Yeah,
all right.
but I should mention that I think we probably need to build into our costs since.
You don't have any life insurance?
Nope.
Not even at like a $10,000? Okay.
So I hope we don't increase our health insurance. If we don't have that work, but, we should add a factor for Cobra in there.
Yes, I have your Cobra
Gotcha, okay.
stuff.
Okay, but I won't be here. I don't know that.
Right.
Damage that in house.
Yeah, so on Cobra, so I do have a Cobra proposal. I just figured I'd visit with you about that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, there is a cost of $1.12. Right. $1.12 per employee per month. So we can, so for Cobra administration, we can add that as a premium component, so it would increase your rates by $1.12 on both sides. Or it can be a direct bill, and we can, that, I don't need that decision today.
Okay.
Looking at your benchmarking, which begins on page 15, you'll see the light gray bar graph represents Floyd County. The dark gray represents IGHCP, so the other 48 entities that you're joint purchasing health insurance with. And then the gold represents public administration plan, so other cities and counties at the national level, which is very close to the state average. So that's why we use national versus state. They were almost identical. So you can see you're a little lower on deductible than the IGHCP average. Same with the family deductible. Your out-of-pocket maximums, as I mentioned, you're right, square center, so you're squaring up with the rest of IGHCP there. A little under nationally, which isn't a big surprise. Iowa, when prior to the Accountable Health Care Act, Iowa was one of the lower states relative to insurance cost. So not surprising that we're on the lower end of the benefits there because costs are lower as well. Floyd County co-insurance and co-pays. So your co-insurance, you're a little higher than the average IGHCP group. So that just means that what your employees pay in co-insurance is a little higher than average, but it's even with the national average. Co-pays, That's your doctor's office visit. You're at $20, which is a little higher than the average IGHCP. We have many, many IGHCP groups still at 10. And then we have a $15 option and a $30 option. So that's why you're running a little high because of all those $10 copays out there. Page 17 describes the pharmacy copays. You're just a smidge higher on pharmacy copays. We do have an option that has a $0 generic, so that's why you're coming up a little high with a $10 generic. You're tier 2, you're even. Tier 3, very, very close to even. Next is as it relates to premiums. So your single and family premium are higher than the average IGHCP group. Part of that is just because of when you joined. So the groups that have been with us since 2005 have had very low increases over time, where you guys were by yourself for a number of years, experiencing some of those, you know, peak double-digit rate increases. So your premiums are a little bit higher than the average IGHCP group. Relative to employee contributions, your employees don't contribute on the single plan. So is that correct?
Correct.
So that's why there's no show on your bar there. So you're coming up a little under the average, not much under, because most IGHCP groups have that same employee contribution being 0 at the single contract level. And then on family, you are higher as far as what your employees contribute. The graph right next to it's the same, just as in a percentage as opposed to a dollar amount. Next, you'll find the current membership. So since your last renewal, we've added on the county side, Montgomery and Davis counties. On the city side, we've added all of the cities below Windsor Heights. And then we did add 3 new school districts. That was done on a very exceptional basis. IGHCP does not market to, nor will we accept future schools. I approached a trust, a medical trust that wasn't doing as well in the market, and we acquired that trust. So that's why we got the schools. Walmart made an exception to let those schools come in. We're talking to 5-6 groups for 7-1 of 24. So I do anticipate decent growth for 7-1 of 24. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 probably will come in. The next 3 pages are the descriptions of the 3 IGHCP wellness plans that are now available to all IGHCP group entities. The first being the bronze plan. There's no cost to participate in the bronze plan. That will be done in combination of help from my team, our population health manager, Wellmark, and then we would work with local area vendors where health fairs and so forth are concerned. The silver plan builds off of the bronze plan, so everything the bronze plan offers, plus additional benefits under the silver plan. That does come at a cost, though, at 75 cents per employee per month. You'll see the cost about halfway down the page there. And then last is the gold plan. This is a little more expensive. This is going to come with a lot of different and additional features from the gold and silver plan. I'm sorry, from the bronze and silver plan. So if there's interest, Lori knows a lot about it. She helped build them. She helped build these plans as part of our wellness committee. So we haven't before been able to offer wellness plans. So we're super excited for those groups that they don't have the staff or the budget dollars to promote wellness. We're able to help them out and do that at no to little cost. Rocket Lawyer is a new benefit available to IGHCP members. This is a Go ahead.
We'll go back to the wellness plans a little bit.
Mhm.
Because I'd like to know a little bit more about them. I mean, these things always sound like a great idea.
Yeah,
I mean, we should be doing this and our employees should. So how are we participating? Are we taking advantage of what we offer now?
Yeah, so I would, I would like Jason to schedule we kind of got off track a little bit with our risk management committee meetings that talks about options like this to bring forward. And so, these free things we've got, I'd like to implement some of those with the county. There's lots of awesome ones that came out with serving on this committee of, like Denise said, zero cost or no cost. And so my idea is that I'll bring these to the committee and, maybe even see if we can get some buy-in with the association that might help spread some word on and help us with getting some challenges together that we can engage more employees.
and we have resources that we offer you as well. We have a population health manager. She has a ton of experience in creating wellness plans. She came from Delta Airlines. She was in charge of their wellness plans for years. So she brings a lot of expertise and knowledge to the table, and that's a resource that is available to you at no cost. And then Jennifer in my office heads the wellness committee. So she also will work closely with your group to help you develop a plan that best meets your budgetary needs.
So
So,
the silver and the gold plan, I mean, how many counties do these things and how's it working for them?
This is brand new. It's rolling out July of 24.
Oh,
So far, nobody, and I don't know. So we'll see. More to come.
well, good.
Yeah.
and I don't know that it'll necessarily even be tracked through the program.
We're going to try to keep in contact with the groups. I don't think we're gonna be able to see like a return on investment. I think that's gonna be pretty hard to track. If they're doing the paid programs, but we're definitely gonna keep our finger on the pulse of how it's going and making sure that they've got some cheerleaders and, keep it going, don't stop,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
And, when we talked about health insurance rates, at a prior meeting, and I talked about the wellness dollars there,
Mhm.
that we've not tapped a lot of our wellness dollars with our incentive that we have currently with $100
Yes,
per employee per year. And so I did reduce that only by $500 annually for our pool with hope that maybe we can, engage some incentives, whether it's $10 or $20, in addition to, or maybe we do something different than the $100 that we have currently. And
There's so many resources locally that are untapped, I know. I mean, we use Hy-Vee in almost every county, city that we work with. They have great nutritionalists that will jump in and help. They can do biometric screenings. They've just been a great partner for us.
All right.
So, yes, so back to Rocket Lawyer. Rocket Lawyer is a new benefit for IGHCP members. Rocket Lawyer provides a ton of legal services that your employees can access to no cost. The lawyers are going to be board certified Iowa-based attorneys, so if you needed to have a referral out, maybe the free service has gone on so long that you've expired the free part of your consultation. There's a network of attorneys in Iowa that have signed up to participate in this. I kind of said it reminds me of Doctors on Demand. Remember, telemedicine became pretty popular, especially with COVID. Rocket Lawyer is very similar. There's no brick and mortar. It's all telephonic, Zoom calls so that you can engage with an attorney. There is safety in there for the employers. This is an employer-sponsored plan, so we don't want a situation where the employee can litigate against the employer that that's not allowable. It's really about documents. If you a will, or you want to rent a house, or you want to
A trust,
a
a
trust.
conservatorship,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
all that stuff.
And our employees can access a
Yes.
online lawyer
Yes, yep,
and get response within one day.
yeah, yeah, it's really fast, yeah. I called the references, I've made, calls to other local Iowa groups that are participating in this, and it was all great reviews, so then I vetted it through the advisory committee, the IGHCP advisory committee. They wanted to take it to the next level, so it's been implemented.
There is, at a point, there's lots of templates that they can provide, but there is a fee if there's a point down the.
Yeah, so as I said, if you get to a point where you've exhausted the free stuff, they'll let you know that you're now there. Do you want a referral out? And they'll refer you to a local attorney that has signed up for Rocket Lawyer at a 40% discount. So whatever that lawyer's hourly rate is discounted by 40% if it's a referral from Rocket Lawyer.
Okay, now I can understand, say 40% on lawyers in your area, so they're part of the
Yes,
network.
yep.
Do we have any in Floyd County?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who they all are off the top of my
Do we have
head.
people that are rocket lawyers?
Yeah, but we have, all over the state of Iowa. I really didn't see any holes.
Totally new concept. for me.
You also have
Sounds
lots
very
of,
interesting.
physicians, you know, your family practice physicians and so forth. Many of them participate in telemedicine as well. So they're seeing patients in their offices, but they might be part of Doctors on Demand. So when they're not seeing patients in their offices, they're doing FaceTiming. I guess the big takeaway here, and we'll make sure that this is pointed out as we get closer to open enrollment, but you have to use the link provided that has IGHCP in that link. If you don't do it that way, it's gonna ask for a credit card because it will cost money if you don't use this link. Next is Employee Navigator. This is a new Ben admin system. So this is a benefit administration system that would allow for online enrollment if you wanted to move that direction. This is something we'll visit with Gloria about to see if she has some interest in participating. You can fully participate in and do online enrollment, or you can we can do all the data entry for you, and you still have access to all the employer reporting. So we can talk about that. And if you want to do a demo, you can. Again, no cost for that either. Last is the IGHCP team. So a lot of new names here. Danny and Reagan. Marla's been with us for about a year. Danny and Reagan are both pretty new. Bring a lot of energy to the team. We're really excited to have them. Jennifer McMillan replaced Cindy Allen, who just retired. And then you'll find EBS's and Wellmark's contact information there as well.
Well, I sure learned something. Thank you.
Okay, I feel like I talked really fast.
No, that's fine.
I also have your benefits guides. So these are the current 2023 year. So we'll get you updated to 24 and have electronic copies and paper copies available for open enrollment. And then this is the Cobra admin, so we can catch up via phones when you're free.
All right, Denise, thank you very much. Any questions, comments from the members of the board?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You know, we do really get a lot of our employees listen to our meetings. And, so I think they probably heard some things today they're probably new. I certainly did. So hopefully we'll have some more interest in some of these programs that you're offering.
Absolutely, and we'll be sure that we have good employee communication as we get closer to the new plan year.
Maybe
All right.
one question,
Uh-huh.
that Rocket Lawyer, is that part of Rocket Finance? Or is that just a coincidence?
I think it's a coincidence, there's Rocket Tax, they're about to roll that out, but I haven't heard Rocket Finance.
Okay. So just curious,
Okay, yeah, I'll have to look that up, I'm not aware of a connection.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I wanted to ask you a question, before I leave. Balance billing for services such as ambulance, that type of thing. Did you had told me some time ago that there's no more balance billing?
So as long as you stay in the Blue Cross National Network, so Blue Cross Blue Shield of any state in the United States keeps you in network, and you cannot have balance billing in those situations. The only areas that I'm aware of where balance billing can come up is if it's a private ambulance and they don't participate in any insurance networks, then that could be an issue.
So if we have a private ambulance service here,
might.
or,
I would hope
Anybody.
that they're not balance billing, but they could potentially.
Okay.
Do you have a live case of that?
not at this point,
And I
but
think they do, don't they, Germany balance bill,
Mhm.
AMR?
Yep, what do they do?
I don't know of any employees that have seen that at this point with our plan. Are you aware of it happening with someone?
Not
I'm
in this, but the AMR balance bills, I don't know about the county employees, so.
Okay,
If that ever becomes an issue, just reach out to me and let me see if I can help mitigate
Okay.
that some, because that can get to be a very.
Probably a better question for Dawn. About Stella.
actually, her and I just talked about it today. She's not on that billing side of it, so
Oh,
she wasn't sure.
yeah, I'm not sure how they do that, but I've heard it being talked about.
I know it had been in the past, but I thought you'd said something at one time about no more balance billing.
That's on the National Blue Cross Network.
So if we have AMR, if they're not networked, then is that the deal with Wellmark? Then we've got, which they're not networked. from
Yeah,
what
it's
I
not a
understand.
Wellmark situation. It's the ambulance that's saying, you know, we're gonna charge and we're not gonna accept any discounts from insurance companies, so this is the charge.
Yeah.
And if the insurance companies pay us under the charge, somebody's gonna make up that difference and it'll be the patient.
So I think we probably still have that happening. I don't know of any employees, but I. think
Okay.
that-
I will check out the No Surprise Act, because that's a new rule. And that might be what you're referring to, the No Surprise Act. That might have eliminated that private balance bill. I'll look into that.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, next item is item 7, update on law enforcement center courthouse project, including progress report. Did we have some meetings with
So
representatives of?
there's a lot's been happening. I don't know if you've tried going into your office.
I have, and I was in there the other day and they were taking the wall out, but,
Yes.
that's our own staff that's working on that.
Taking the wall out, however, that came about from, Samuel's group has brought in their staff, and he has completed the ceiling in the auditor's office, the judge's chamber, I believe in the engineer's office. The ceiling in the board office is, boardroom office is, they're concerned if they start taking any of that ceiling down, the rest of the ceiling may come down. So what he's offered is if John takes the wall down, he will help build a new wall. They've got some ideas that everything outside of in the office area, which will be nicer, your desk will fit in there better with that wall out. He's gonna put the, extension so that the air blows out into the room like it should, and build that wall when he comes back. But the ceiling inside, that'll be in that it'll be like a closet where the unit's at. You'll be able to store it a little bit in there if you wanted to, but there's not, you probably won't need to. But that will be, they're gonna try a different idea to camouflage the bad ceiling. But the ceiling's not gonna be replaced, with the project. He's just afraid the whole thing's gonna come down if they start taking any part of it. It's got those little, connected 10-inch tiles but John and him are working on things. As far as the, 4th floor stairwell, I think you probably got the email from me on the water leak on Monday last week. That was discovered only, Deputy Shirley happened to be taking someone through the, secured vestibule area on 4th floor from the elevator here to 4th floor for inmate transport, and, noticed, major water leak. So we had Young Plumbing here until probably 6, 7 o'clock Monday night fixing that. There's a hole in one of the PVC pipes, And so that's been fixed.
That's on the fourth floor, right?
Yeah, that's on the fourth floor, the stairwell side, there's bubbles in the paint there. Ceiling, more pieces of the ceiling fell, so we've blocked off that area for safety. We got the leaks fixed. It's my understanding, the pipe issue is covered under warranty. So I'm assuming that means they're gonna fix the wall repairs. There were bubbles of water between the wall and the paint. It just bubbled right out. There's pockets of paint. I have pictures if you wanna see them.
Just let that dry, or did they have to have cleanup?
They did, poke some holes, John poked some holes in the wall so that the water could get out and start drying out the bubbled areas. But the ceiling on fourth floor, nothing has been done there. In the stairwell, nothing's been done because that had some moisture in it. They wanted that to dry out before they started, doing anything there. John's idea of securing like 1x4s in that ceiling area and then lowering the ceiling, they do not recommend that as an option. So, the gentleman is gonna be coming back and he's getting a quote for, scaffolding because what John has for scaffolding isn't tall enough. And that will be a bill on us and just waiting to get those numbers.
So they recommended repairing that plaster instead of,
I think they're going they're gonna take not all the plaster out, but take the majority of the plaster out and then come up with a, sheetrock, fix to it. Yeah. So I just don't have a date when that was, but we made progress. The other ceilings are done and you guys will end up with a bigger office area. I think it'll be big enough that if you wanted to put a table in there, you could, have closed session meetings in there. If that be the case, otherwise you'll be spread out more if you happen to be in the office at the same time.
So the punch list items are getting smaller and smaller.
They are,
We still have some new issues that popped up.
Yep.
And we're finding a way to
yes,
redo the supervisor's room
yes,
with county janitorial staff, and then they're going to help.
they're gonna help build that wall.
Okay,
And then some of the issues with, with sweeper bowing out, not finishing the project, and Noah has come in to do work. There's, some of the materials have come in for that. Noah needs to just come on site and, fix some of those things. And then Communication Innovators has to do the networking of, the doors that, hardware.
in the
doors.
LEC,
Like in third and fourth floor,
the
holding cells.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, 2 doors came in the LAC part as well. And I don't know the status of those, but the doors arrived anyway. I don't know, Pat or anybody here? So it's in the work. So
okay, what's going on with this water softener issue that we keep talking about?
Well, I think I've given up on them. We got one estimate for $55,000. Another company out of Manchester sent us just an estimate on the materials, but not the labor to install it. Hauser, haven't heard back. The third one, we haven't heard from at all, Wix and Allison. So I'm kind of giving up, but, I don't know what Pat Shirley's feelings are, but Gloria and I talked one time and we could afford to buy a new dishwasher once in a while instead of $55,000 if that's what it costs. So,
And so the sole purpose of the water softener was to soften that water?
well, just the water that was the worst was in the LEC, also in the cells, in the sinks and toilets and showers as well. But
lined up,
yeah,
Sure.
lime up, yeah.
yeah. As far as the dishwasher goes, I think they've got a something that they've been using in the dishwasher, so the line buildup isn't so bad in the dishwasher, I don't think. But they do have to replace once in a while the little
Screens and
screens and
in
jail
the sink
cells.
or in the faucets.
Yep,
Well, what do you think? We should get some input from law enforcement regarding the jail and what's going on there and make a decision on this? I mean, I've heard this conversation for weeks
Yeah,
and
it's
we're not
been,
really moving on anything. So I'd like, should we have get some advice from law enforcement, what they wanna do in the jail and
I think so.
move on this thing?
Yeah, I was just thinking there was a company in town that used to bring these cylinders and trade them in and out and soften water that way. I don't even know if they're still doing that anymore or how effective it was. But, yeah, I agree with you. We gotta get some more input from the sheriff's department and get it rolling.
Yeah.
but I
Yeah, but
do
if
We're
think
not getting
that,
anything back from it.
well,
It's not like you're
and
gonna
I,
do.
some of the reason may be because they have to put the softener in the west end of the LEC. There's a walk-in door at the very west end of the building, and you gotta go down. It's not stairs, but it's a ladder on the wall to get down in there. I can't get down in there. And then where they have to install the equipment is back around the corner and behind the cells. And one time Pat thought that he'd have to get permission from the state even to do that, but I don't think that's the case, or,
but even again, like Dennis said, with, the cost just, if you're looking at a $50,000
Yeah.
bill. And the cost of treating 100% of the water
yeah.
that comes through is
I've
a pretty
even,
steep cost as well.
the city softens the water before it gets here, but at the very bare minimum. And I checked and asked them if they would consider softening it more, and they didn't have much appetite for that, so.
And some of that buildup in those jail cells, I think it was Jason maybe that said if if they're, keep those flushing, run the water through them and the system allows them to do that, but when the water just sits there in a cell that's not used or something, there's buildup that happens in that as well.
And who reported that?
I think it was, well, Jason,
Jason
I think,
McClendon.
I think it might have been Jason who said, and I don't know if they are flushing things out to keep things cleaned out, but that he thought maybe some of that is how the gunk is building up, the lime is building up.
Well, it kind of sounds if that could get resolved, maybe, this $55,000 and the cost to run the system is probably maybe not cost effective. Starting to be a real question.
Kind of where we were some time ago before you guys were on board, and then it kind of came up again and,
Okay.
but no decision.
Anything else on this issue in general then? Okay. All right, thank you for that report. Next item is communications tower project, and we've got some guests in here, we've got lots of seats, we'd really like it if you came in and sat down and joined us. That's fine, the rest of you, you're very welcome. Anyone who wants to speak on this issue, we're gonna ask you to speak from that podium and identify yourself. We really want to hear what you have to say. This is an issue we're gonna spend a little time on, so you're welcome to come in and sit down. Anyone who wants to speak, when we get to that time, we open it up to public comment. Just raise your hand, I'll recognize you, state your name and come here to this podium to speak. And we do that because that's the microphone that goes out here. And so these people, a couple of them who I've gotten to know today are online, can hear as well. So, with that, just a brief update on the project. And we're gonna not update this from the people that are working on it. I'm gonna give you an update on what's happened to date. And so the easiest way to do that, because we've got Ben Chatfield here, we've got Supervisor Kiefer here who's been working on that. At times, we've also had this bit of an informal committee of Jason Webster, who's here. We have John Gore, who certainly works on this, as communications. Our dispatcher has been working on this. And there've been others. But this board collectively has talked about this issue twice. So I think to get everybody started on the same page, I'm gonna do what is the easiest thing for me to do. And that's read the minutes of the 2-minute meetings where we discussed that. So we all understand where we're currently at. So bear with me a little bit. But these are the official meetings of the Board of Supervisors. We approve them every day, every meeting. And, they're what are the official records. So let's just start there and then we'll entertain this discussion. So on January 29th, the Board of Supervisors held a meeting at the Fossil and Prairie Center. At that meeting, there was on our agenda an update on the project and a discussion regarding the location of the project. And then there was a consideration of something called a variance that we can talk about a little bit before that. But I'm just reading from the minutes. So this is what happened on January 29th. Jason Webster, who's here, Emergency Management Coordinator, and Deputy Travis Bartz provided an update on the communications tower project. Motorola, which is the company that we're getting this from, at a cost of $5.1 million, not to exceed, says the materials have been ordered. The structural analysis is complete for the antenna on the Charles City Tower. And the majority of radios will ship in March and should be operational by June. And it's pretty optimistic that that's what we reported. The Communications Tower Committee received 3 options for the Rockford area tower location. 1, the property across the road from the Fossil and Prairie Center, commonly known as the, Ralph Martin property, was found not to be feasible for a Motorola study. 2, the center's property was not considered an option due to its designation as a preserve. 3, the landowner owning property west of the center is receptive to locating the tower on his property. Setbacks from the road and the center were discussed. Jeff Sherman, zoning administrator, mentioned approximately a ½ acre would need to be purchased to locate a 300-foot tower on the neighboring property, and would require a variance. Webster and Bartz commented that the tower is designed to break in the middle, so in the event of falling, it would drop down more than it would tip over. Kiefer questioned why Motorola thought the proposed spot was ideal. Webster responded that it is due to the elevation. Webster will provide information on the engineering design of the fall of the tower and information on Motorola's study on best locations for the tower. Adam Sears, who was here, Conservation Director, reviewed the 2005 articles of dedication of the Fossil and Prairie Park State Preserve. Specifically, sections H, J, and L, that would be inconsistent with locating a tower in a preserve area. In rare instances, land could be removed from a preserve for joint action of the Iowa Senate and House, approval of the governor, and the Department of Natural Resources. Kewen questioned how the existing wind turbine and solar panels on the center were permitted. Sears responded that the mode areas was intentionally left out of the preserve for future expansion, and there would be no area that would accommodate the 300-foot tower. Kiefer commented that if the tower could be put on property owned by the county, it would be ideal. Tyrone Steer, Conservation Natural Resources Manager, questioned if the cost of acquiring the land would be significant. Kiefer responded that the cost of the land has not been discussed with the landowner. Heidi Reamy, Conservation Naturalist, commented the center is a destination place for visitors from all over and a showpiece to the county. A chain link fence and rock area in front of the center would be a negative impact to the county. Kewen commented, after hearing comments, conservation property is likely not a good location for the tower, nor is the property adjacent to the center. And a different location may need to be considered. Jorgensen mentioned he would be opposed to putting the tower on the center's property. Webster commented that Motorola stated the neighboring property is a good place for the tower and studies may be needed to conduct for a different location. So that's what was recorded in the minutes, and they were, I remember commenting when we approved them, I thought they were very well written and thorough. Sometimes not everything that's said, obviously, is included in minutes. But at the time of that meeting, we were told, and we believed, this board believed, that there was a portion of the Fossil and Prairie Center Park that was not in the state preserve. So they have told us. So we believe that. That since then has turned out to be not accurate, but that was the information that we went with at that time. There was some discussion about that. I raised some of those questions at the time, like, if it wasn't, how did we build this tower that's over there? And so, you know, that was done with, I was on the board at the time. And that was done, and there was another conservation director, and I still don't know if there was never appeal process to cite that. Because several of those things that are in the agreement that's in the state preserve were also, you couldn't have done it in that case. So that's one point. We just want to start there. That was the minutes from that meeting. So second time we talked about this was here on February 12th, and we just approved those minutes. The board discussed the communications tower project. Kewen mentioned at the last meeting that the board was presented with an application for variances to the property adjacent to the Fossil and Prairie Center. John Robbins, NIACOG representative, provided a letter to the board stating the board does not have a role in applying for a variance to the Board of Adjustment because the county is not the property owner. And I commented at the time that it was inappropriate for the Board of Supervisors to be asked to consider to approve a variance because the Board of Supervisors does not approve variances. That's a rule of the Board of Adjustment. So why was this handed to the Board of Supervisors for consideration? Because one, it was incomplete. And we were discussing a variance on an adjacent property, the Slater property. But there's no way it should have come before us. We're separate from the Board of Adjustment. And so I asked John Robbins to provide us with a memo of what it would take to place that turbine on the adjacent landowner's property. And Mr. Robbins did that. That has been forwarded to all the people, I believe. Thank you, Supervisor Kiefer. It's a memo regarding the concerns of planning and zoning for siting this turbine, this tower, communications tower, on a neighboring property. Some of these we've already determined are not a concern. We know that, but he raised some others that are. So this is also an important part of moving forward. So back to the minutes. Then Len Baumgart, Motorola project manager, provided an update on the project, including structural analysis, GEO test, and high-level drawing exhibits securing the tower to the building at the Charles City Monopole site. In the Rockford area, Baumgart reported there were concerns to locate the tower at the center. The site across from the center had topography issues, so the site adjacent to the center was approved by the committee to go forward with developing drawings and for the county to procure that site. Doesn't quite work that way, but that's what was thought to be the proper process. Motorola needs approval by the board before emergency shelter constructions will be prepared and the permitting process can be started. The shelter tower infrastructure equipment have been ordered. Mobile and portable radios have shipped. The infrastructure equipment should be shipped in March and the shelter and tower are lining up for a June timeframe. Ben Chatfield mentioned the site could be within about a half mile from the center for coverage from Marble Rock to North Springs with one tower. The committee was told by Adam Sears, Conservation Director, that nothing could be put on the center property. The Schlater site, adjacent to the center, is flat, a little bit higher in elevation and would have less construction costs than the Martin site across the road. Kiefer mentioned Sears said the mowed area, the center property is not in the state preserve and believes the area for the tower wouldn't take more than the area for a turbine on the site occupies, except the tower is taller. Although the idea may not be popular, Kiefer is in favor of finding a location for the tower on the center property because of the ideal location between North Springs and Rockford, and building a road to the tower and fiber shouldn't be an issue. Two options at the center were discussed. This is at the meeting on February 12th. One, Robbins mentioned if an existing county-owned parcel was considered, there would be no setback or subdivision requirement, but a conditional use permit would be required. All of these properties are in ag districts. So that's what that is referring to. Jorgensen commented, the cost of buying property would be a small percentage of the project and does not believe it is cheaper to use the county's property. Kiefer responded that no price has been talked with Schlater's property. Chatfield suggested RJ from Pyramid and Baumgart from Motorola, the project manager, would need to take a look at the options for feasibility at the center. I have tried to convey as honestly and completely what has happened to that point. And so after that, it was agreed to that Chatfield, Baumgart, and RJ, I don't know if anyone else was involved, I believe Adam might have been involved, would go to the site to look at the site, to see in these areas that we thought were not in the preserve, could be a possible location. That happened last week. We schedule these meetings, we put on during the week. Sometimes there is some discussion, I hear it from Auditor Carr about what has taken place, who's been meeting where, what's coming up. There's also been a discussion about another county-owned property, the Laudner property, which is under the control of the Conservation Board, which is a little west of this site. And is that a possible location? Some of those discussions were going on. And we had it on the discussion, and that's why we're discussing it today. Last night. Sometimes I like to turn off the county computer and watch a basketball game, and that's exactly what I did. About 7 o'clock, I was on the farm, turned off the county computer and watched the basketball game. I woke up this morning at 6:30, turned on my county computer, like I always do. And at that time, there were probably 65 emails in the Board of Supervisors email count. And by about 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock this afternoon, 3 o'clock, I counted 85 emails that arrived since 7:27 p.m. on Tuesday. I read them all. There might be more. And I'm gonna respond to all of them based on what happens here at this meeting today. I just want to let you know the context of those emails. And again, I'm doing this in a way that is strictly the most straightforward and accurate way I can convey this. Okay. You start reading through them and you realize that there are an awful lot of people who have serious and very real concerns about the location of the communications tower due to the proximity to J.T. Tummelson's statue and the monument. And so that was an early, quick, I could read that. It took me a while before I understood how could 85 emails appear all of a sudden in less than 12 hours. And so when I got down to Joy Tumelson's email, and I see that Joy is on the line today, and I hope you can hear me. I want to read part of this to you. I'm kind of summarizing 85 emails that were sent to the Board of Supervisors very respectfully and in a manner that meant a lot to me, but it done so in a way that with the respect that I think both the Board of Supervisors and J.T. Tummelson deserve. Dear County Board of Supervisors, this is from Joy Bush Tummelson. I'm gonna skip over some of this, it's kind of long, but believe me, I'm getting to the important part. I'm writing in regard to your proposed location for the new communication tower that is needed in Rockford. I want to be very clear. I am in support of this project as I know it is much needed. However, I'm extremely concerned that the Fossil and Prairie Park Preserve is being considered as a potential location. Of course, Joy's lived in 20 years of her life in Rockford, is still where I consider home. And she talks about the times that John was gone there. And the family worked closely, and talked about the 5K race. Then she says, I know over the last 24 hours, you have been inundated with emails from across the United States, and believe me, we have them from across the United States. And from complete, it's been astounding. The emails and the outpouring of opposition to citing this project on the Fossil and Prairie Center. Regarding the proposed location of the tower at Fossil Park, I hope you know I asked, Mrs. Tummelson asked for the public's help, not because I was trying to intimidate or flood your email, but because I want the Board of Supervisors to know that this isn't a place that holds special meaning just to the people of Rockford and Floyd County, but is a special place for all to visit and something that is celebrated by all, regardless of where they live. Why would you want to place a 300-foot tower in something the staff and our county has worked so hard to build and preserve, and that will detract from everything this land stands for? I'm asking the board to please consider moving the location of the tower to the surrounding farmland and not disrupt the beauty of the Fossil and Prairie Park. I understand there are other options, so I'm really concerned that the Fossil Park is something you are even heavily considering at this point. It is my understanding that this is a state preserve. Isn't this protected land with the intention of protecting our natural resources? How can the board even consider placing a tower on this protected land? And if you can, doesn't that really mean that you should? And this is important. This is a grieving mother who wrote this. We have spent the last almost 13 years bringing people to the Fossil and Prairie Park. We selected this as a site for John's memorial statue and spent a year raising over $100,000 to commission his statue and develop the site around the memorial. We bring people here each year for John's annual 5K Memorial Run and many more across the US. Visit throughout the year because they've seen and heard about the beauty of this space. Our goal is not just to have a place to honor John and his teammates' sacrifice, but to bring people to the town and things that John loved about his hometown. The money we raise at this event each year gets poured back into our community. The two proposed locations for the tower at the Fossil Park are both within close proximity and view John's memorial statue. There will be an eyesore that people first see when they come to that park and detract from what makes this land so unique. Please reconsider this decision and what it will mean to this land, our community, and those who visit from across the United States. Sometimes doing what's right is not always the easiest or most cost-effective decision, but as county supervisors, it is your job to protect what is best. I implore you to erect the communications tower on the surrounding farmland and protect the land at the Fossil and Prairie Park so it can be a place of serenity and calm for people for years to come. Thank you for your time and consideration. Joy Thomason Bush. 85 emails that I read, and I hope you both had the opportunity to read them all. Had a common theme to that. There were also emails from other members of the Tomlinson family. We were sent pictures of the sculpture. I really appreciate that one. I've been at that site. I visited there a number of times. It is a place of solitude. A friend of JT sent us a picture of JT and asked this pointed question, how can you do that? Take a look at this person. There is a consensus here that this is not a site that's welcome. It would be disrespectful. And so it has reached a point of opposition from the local community within 24 hours or less. It touched me. Understand, there's been no decision. This board did not decide, this is not going to be decided tonight where this tower is going to be located. That's not what we're talking about. But I do hope that for this and for other reasons that I want to talk about, and I want to hear from you about it, that if there's one thing that we can agree with tonight, that the location of the communication tower on the Fossil and Prairie site itself is something that we can cross off of that list and say that we're not going to do that. We're not going to consider that. And that's one person's goal. I'm the chair. I only have one vote in this. But that, I am not supporting it. I didn't support it at the January 29th meeting, and clearly stated such in the minute. So with that, I'm looking forward to this discussion. Also want to point out, there are other places to look, please look at. And we're going to have to work together to find an acceptable place. So many of these emails state the fact, some of them were from law enforcement people suggesting that, yeah, I understand the importance of communication and that you need that tower, but not here. So it's with that I want to open this up and hear from you and certainly the supervisors and directly from the people that were involved with placing this from when we left the last meeting to how this got to be a couple of sites inside the park so that we're close to this sculpture. That's what happened in that time. So, thank you for hearing me out. But thank you for listening to those minutes. Because that is important. We all start at the same spot. Any comments from the board? Then I'll open it up to any comment from anyone on the phone or anyone here today.
Yeah, I was certainly surprised by the number of emails, and I was also surprised by John Tomlinson being brought into the discussion. I admire and respect John as much as anybody. I didn't think the second tower location was anywhere near that statue, and it's not, but that's okay. And that's the only thing I want to add. So.
I'll just say a tremendous amount of emails, most I've ever seen in a short period of time. Incredible. I read most of them. I haven't been through them all yet. I mean, I just don't have time to get through 85. I actually counted more than that. I think we're over 100. But, and, you know, as the minutes stated, I haven't, spoke favorably of, placing the tower on the Fossil Park property. I'm still not in favor of that today, only as a extreme last resort, right? Because I do believe the communications tower is important, and, you know, we're talking about our law enforcement, our firemen's safety as well as our citizens. If every single option is exhausted, maybe there could be some discussion that way, but I'm not ready to. I don't think we've exhausted those options at this time.
Art? Yes.
So I'm
Come over here to the microphone here. And who you are and why you're here, Ben, thank you.
My name is Ben Chatfield, and so I've probably spent more time on this project than anybody. I've been working with Motorola for 6 years during this project in Floyd County, which is important. I just wanna go back to last week after we left here, because there was some things that said would be done in the last week, and those happened as well as numerous other things. So last week when we left the board meeting, it was just left as, hey, we need to look at these sites. There was nothing decided. At no point did anybody say we're going Fossil Park. It was, we need Motorola to take a look at every possible option, because at the end of the day, the cost, making sure the project's going to work once it's built, everything has to be looked at. So from the inception of this project, roughly 3 years ago, Motorola has identified basically a radius of a half a mile from the Prairie Park. That's the highest point in the elevation in that part of the county. So that's what we've been working with. We talked to the owners of the Martin property. We've been in conversations with Mr. Slater. Everything's been looked at. So after last week's meeting, we reached out to Pyramid, which is the tower builder, and Motorola, set up a meeting for last Friday for a walkthrough. After that was set up, Adam actually sent me the document for the articles for the inception of the Prairie Park, which I had not seen. After we reviewed them, and the process to get this approved at the Prairie Park, there's some major hurdles that have to be crossed. And I don't think it's the best fit. Again, we were just looking at all the options. So I read those documents. Dennis has reached out to the state for clarification. I think we're in agreement that the process, not saying that it couldn't be done, but the process, the length of getting it done is gonna be astronomical anyway, and this tower needs to happen soon. So we canceled the meeting with Pyramid. There's no point in spending thousands of dollars of the county's money to have them do a site walk if we're not gonna go to Fossil Prairie Park. So that meeting was canceled. Since then, Adam and I believe one of the other conservation people pointed out Laudner Preserve, which is roughly a half a mile to the west of the Fossil Prairie Park. So Motorola has ran coverage maps. They're able to put that site in their computer and print out a map that'll show radio coverages in the county and how it'll be affected. That site, compared to the Schlater site, which was also identified as 25 feet difference in elevation. They sent us those maps, and all the map is basically our handheld radio standing out in the middle of the open on the street. There is significant loss in coverage in that radio going down that hill 25 feet, believe it or not. It's a half a mile. And so there really isn't any other spots without staying on that elevation other than Schlater's or the Fossil Park. That's the two options we are down to. Mr. Slater reached out to me roughly an hour before this meeting and said he is still in favor of meeting with the board in closed session and discussing a price whenever they want to get that scheduled, if that's what they choose to do. But at this point, the Schlater property looks to be the best option other than the Boston Prairie Park. And cost, with the cost of the land is the difference. I mean, if it's built at the Fossil Prairie Park, we're gonna have the same construction cost as the Schlater property essentially. It's the land cost. So, and until they meet with Mr. Slater, we don't know what that cost is. So that's kind of where we went the last week. I've spent close to 40 hours in this building and walking sites over there. We've explored every piece of property over there. Deputy Bart spent countless hours of his time over there. I know Gloria's made a trip over there and walked all those sites. We have to stay at that elevation of the Prairie Park, or we're not doing a service to our community, spending $5 million on a radio system and not working the way it's supposed to. So, again, this board has a difficult decision because the tower's gotta go somewhere, and we have to do what's right with the taxpayers, and they obviously have to do what's right with the people too, in everybody's opinion. So I know they got bombarded with emails. My phone started ringing at 6:30 this morning and didn't stop till I walked in the door, so I was getting a lot of them too, but this is something that needs to get done. It's been a long time coming and we got pushed forward, so. And it's kind of time is of the essence here at some point too, because Mr. Slater's gonna wanna plant corn on that field if we're not buying it, so we need to, hopefully the board can get a time scheduled with him and at least discuss the price. So that's kind of what's happening last week. Again, they have a very tough job. I hope everybody was civil to them when they got phone calls today, but, anybody have any questions for me about the tower? I'll do my best to relay the information that we're aware of, but it is a 300-foot tower. It's big. You can't get around it. It's the only way we can get the coverage we need in the county. Another option is to add a third site, and we're talking another over $1 million to add a third site to get what we need. So essentially, we're kind of limited by funds, and it has to go in that general area. So. Anyone?
Jeanette Land, Rockford.
Yes, Jeanette.
I've been associated with the fossil area for too many years out of my life, but from the conception of everything, I even went down to the state when we did the REAP grant, and I was probably, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months pregnant. So you know, this is a place that I want to save. I would say as soon as possible, make a meeting, an appointment with this gentleman and talk with him. Now, you said Schlater? I guess I didn't think it was Schlater, but it must be that owns that property? Okay. So please, make an appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Hello, everybody. I'm Adam Sears, the Conservation Director. I talked a little bit with Mark and on those January 29th, that meeting at the Board of Supervisors had, we were discussing placement for the communication tower at the Fossil Prairie Park Reserve, and Mark, like I said in the minutes, asked, Mr. Supervisor Kuhn asked how the solar panels and wind turbine were built on the conservation property. And my answer at the time was that they were constructed in the mode areas and that was not in the preserve. That was my best answer at the time. And just to continue on, prior to the February 12th Board of Supervisor meeting, I had notified them that my answer was incorrect. So I was wrong. And the entire property was in the state preserve, including the mode areas, which is noted in the February 12th minutes, where it says the committee was told by Adam Sears, Conservation Director, that nothing could be put on the center property. So that was then. I do want to mention that the Floyd County Conservation Board was asked to attend this meeting today by Supervisor Kiefer, reaching out to our chair, Pete Cloverdance. And so that's why there's several of our FCCB members, Floyd County Conservation Board members here. And, you know, we don't want to break any open meetings law, so they're just gonna be here observing, obviously. I know that Dennis visited with a few of the Conservation Board members so that we would be here in attendance and so-called invited us to this. So, you know, we're here to listen to, you know, we don't know for sure what's going on with this purchase or buying land, which is kind of new to us. We hadn't heard much about it. But then, you know, the moat area, I mean, if it was a problem, I guess we were looking at it as either way, they wouldn't be built there because, if they were gonna build it in the moat area, it didn't really make much sense to anybody to put it right in the middle of the picnic ground, right in the middle of where the playground is, right where the shelter is with, all the disadvantages that would bring. So we were very surprised that they were still entertaining the idea. We thought this was more something you put in a wild area where there's not a lot of people. So when we found out that this was the idea to pursue or look at these moat areas, it instantly threw up a red flag to us. So that's kind of one of the things that, we as a group, you know, are looking at here today and listening about. And then also, I guess, just to be clear, you know, if we talk about another area such as Laudner, you know, you gotta be, following the code, Iowa Code Chapter 350, which states the Conservation Board will make the final decision on the land owned or managed by the County Conservation Board. So I'm assuming, I don't know this, but I'm assuming that the Conservation Board is gonna wanna have a discussion and some action at the next board meeting, just so we can get some stuff on our end kind of buttoned up. But I mean, if something, right now we're hearing that the Laudner property would not be something that's gonna be pursued, so I don't know if there's another one adjacent or not that would, be something that you guys are looking into or that Matt or Ben's looking into. That's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben. You know, looking out on the, by the way, anyone can still comment, but just looking out at the audience in front of it, I see one person other than myself that was in the assembly room when Supervisor Bob Monroe moved to acquire the fossil in Prairie Park, what is known as that now, and save it from what it was going to be. It was designated to be a landfill. And so, but put all of this into perspective, that, and be very thankful that there was some foresight among previous supervisors to help create this. And then all that's done by the Conservation Board itself and all the work that they've done and the grant opportunity that they've come to promote it and preserve it and enhance it to this day. So I think we're all on the same page working together. And that's the one message I'd like to see come out of this meeting, that we don't know. We think that property next to the Possum Prairie site, this later property, is probably the last remaining good site. But at least we can cross off the Possum Prairie Center as a possible site. And I'm hopeful that that's an outcome that we can have. We've got some pretty distinguished guests on the line. I know that because I read their emails. I see their pictures. If anyone would like to comment on that, you're very welcome. Mrs. Tummelson, earlier we've gotten emails from United States Navy retired people, combat veterans who were J.T. Tomlinson. Anyone like to comment on this at this time? All right, hearing none. Any other comments from any member of the public on this? The board will be, looking to, how are we gonna go about doing this? Obviously, you don't negotiate a piece of property like this in an open meeting, so that's a possibility. Perhaps the county attorney could just meet with Mr. Slater and talk to us instead of going to closed session. We haven't thought that out yet. We will. Understand it's Wednesday, our next regular meeting is Monday. So we'll do whatever it takes to proceed with that as quickly as we can. But there are gonna be some delays in this house project that we can't stop. What I learned from John Robbins is it can take up to 90 days for an FAA approval for any tower that's over 200 feet. So we will do what we can do to proceed as rapidly as we can, but start adding the dates up. Where we're gonna put the equipment, how will that happen? The wheels only turn so fast. Any other comment from, yes? Please. Heidi.
Heidi Weems, I'm on conservation staff, but I'm also a resident of Rockford. I'm very thankful of all the emails being sent and their respect. I also asked for some respect for conservation staff and being included in preserving our resources. A lot of the focus tonight has been on the tower's proximity to the JT statue. And I'm very thankful for Joy's input and getting all those people involved. But let's not forget that there's natural resources there that are very sensitive and very rare in Iowa. We have native prairie at the fossil park, and there is 0.1% of that in the state. We have endangered plants, endangered species there. So when we're considering using conservation areas for any type of function other than their natural state that they're currently in, we are professionals that do that, and that, we care. We're obviously out there every day, and so we probably care too much at times, but we do care. So please take that into consideration. And I hope that those emails showed the importance of the fossil park and how it's not just there for Floyd County citizens, that it's there for everyone to enjoy, all the people from out of state and out of country that also come to visit us. So.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. Anything further on this? Anyone like to comment? If not, I think we've charted a course, so we'll be working on it as soon as we possibly can. All right. Okay. Moving on to our next agenda item. Yeah. Review and action regarding drainage district number 3 open ditch repair project, page number 4.
Yes.
All right, yeah, okay. We're ready to have in that.
That's,
Okay. Good. No,
Couple comments.
$18,000.
I'm not-
All right, I'm.
So they're in there somewhere. Page 13 of our packet.
All right.
I can give you an update. Tyler said if we need to call him, we can call him. But he gave me a pretty thorough update on this that might be helpful.
All right, good, go ahead.
The only thing that's on this pay app is tree removal. They haven't reached the threshold for additional mobilization yet. And they plan to start excavation work, or they would have started it the week of February 19th. And, the project work is ahead of schedule. And the pay app is 18,000. And again, it is just for tree removal. And then I mentioned to you at the February 12th meeting that this was received by, came in the mail on February 9th. So everything was turned in, for payment.
It's dated the 8th, I see on the.
Yep, we got it. I didn't email it this time. We just got it in. They overnighted it. It was on my desk on February 9th.
Is the tree, did Tyler say is the tree removal done now?
Nope.
No.
It's not done. There's, well, there was an email that potentially there might be a tree issue that needed to be addressed on the Wolf property. But that, ended up that the wolves are good with that tree coming down because of,
Okay.
it's,
It was in the right away of the ditch though, right? The tree that was
yes,
questionable.
but it was going to fall. They thought it would do damage where it would fall.
Oh, okay.
And so Wolf's had talked to, Jordan Wolf had talked to Tyler about, could they, keep it there? And Tyler had said there have been agreements before with if the property owner wants to keep a tree, that there is an agreement that you can enter into, that if anything happens, that tree has to be remedied by there had to be any remedies are at the property owner. But then they got to looking at the tree and they decided that, everything was gonna be fine. Not sure if there will be damages that might need to be addressed, at a future meeting, the way it falls, but, the agreement isn't a necessary. We're so okay with it. So potentially could be some damages. With that. That's part of the project is, with contingencies, if there are damages to pay, whether it be crop or whatever it might be, that's what is built into the project as well.
Did I read this correctly that Larson, we have a balance of 277,000 left before the project is finished? Is that?
Okay, so 417, there's 137,500 in retainage. So looks like we have 100 excuse me, 13,000, 10% times 137,000, we're completed, 137, or 13,750 in retainage. Amount eligible to date, 123,750. I would say that's what's still on. Payments so far have been 105,000.
105 plus this 36 then, right? What's more,
18, I mean.
or 18, I'm sorry, 18,000, right?
Yeah, 105,000 doesn't include the 18 that's been paid. So 105 has been paid so far, but that does not include the 18.
So 123. So far.
Yep, 123,750.
Maybe somebody can refresh me on a question from a landowner in that area. They were commenting of, tree stumps, roots, that type of thing left sticking up. Who's gonna take care of them and who's gonna seed it, who's gonna mow?
That's part of the project.
They're gonna take all them roots that are this big around that are sticking up?
Yep,
Okay,
yep, right now they're just cutting, but that's the construction part that starts when they'll do, the excavation work. Those should come out with the excavation work on the
Okay.
project.
all right, thanks.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been out there, but boy, does it look different.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they don't have much to go yet. It's, they've had a great season to do that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
In the cottonwood trees, should stand out.
yeah, I think there was one out of the authority of the ditch and it's still there and it's like, wow, that's a big tree now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see that one.
Yeah,
Yes,
I visited that.
I wonder if there'd be anything, if they're ahead enough, if we might get ahead of the window of seeding rather than having to wait till fall. I wonder if they'd be
maybe.
able to bump it up.
If this weather continues, Jim's an official weather forecaster now.
Right. It ain't gonna grow anyway because there's no rain coming. so.
So, is there a motion to approve that's on our agenda, correct?
Yep,
Yeah.
make the motion to, pay the $18,000 regarding Drainage District number 3 open ditch repair project, pay app number 4.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, second by Keeper to pay app number 4 for drainage district 3 in the amount of
$18,000.
$18,000. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. Next item. Item 10, no pay increase for the county attorney secretary office manager following successful performance evaluation. Now that occurred some time ago and we hadn't been informed of that, but, we do have a note in our packet that says, Elizabeth Connect had a successful performance review. And we absolutely, we can backdate the pay to our 6-month anniversary date, on the 6th. The board's motion was to pay her $22.25 an hour, $22.25 an hour upon a successful review. I'll have them note, certify that next meeting. And that's the question. So.
So is that's a merit increase, right? Over and above the 3% again?
This is a
That's the
6-month
6
performance,
months.
A what?
6-month performance
Oh,
increase that
yeah.
was approved in June,
Okay.
pending that successful. It is a 3% increase,
Yeah.
but then she would be eligible for the 3% in July 1 also.
Okay.
Or I should say, whatever increase
We
you.
don't have to take any action on that one.
Yes, we did.
No, it was just noted. Yes, right.
I think you can just note it because you set that 22.25 back in June, pending that
Yeah.
review.
All right then. Next item, 11, review and action regarding the 30-day notice for Iowa Code to reduce compensation paid to supervisors before the fiscal year 25 county budget is certified. Referring to the compensation board's recommendation to the supervisors that they get a pay raise of 3.5%.
Okay,
This supervisors in Floyd County haven't taken a pay raise for, I think this is at least the 4th year.
Probably fiscal year 25 would be probably.
And that's generally been based upon the belief that the supervisor's pay ranks higher on a per capita basis compared to other counties, where supervisor's pay is apparently about ranked 41st, is that correct?
I'd have to
I
check.
believe so, and on a population basis, we're more like 48. So the supervisors have, I think, taken a lead and, not considered a raise, in their pay for some time. And, throughout our discussion of this year's budget, we thought that would be appropriate to do again. So, here, further discussion on the board.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I don't have any section, it's, what we agreed on.
Good, I just said, what I add, I couldn't help but note that, in the Des Moines Register, the supervisors in Polk County, however, are not pursuing a similar line. The Polk County supervisors have increased another large pay increase, and they're currently getting more money than the governor of Iowa. So, I think it's a fiscally responsible thing that we're doing here, and it also carries over into our discussions when we get into the broader part of the budget, how we develop those numbers that we have come up with so far, and how we went about that. So you'll be hearing more about that when we discuss that. We didn't say, I'm sorry, I keep looking.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Action,
Action, yes, it is, action item.
I need a motion.
Yes, we do.
I did have a sample motion in your agenda packet email if you want to use that or not. It was in the text of the email.
Yes, we did.
It's not that you have to use that, it's similar to past years.
I'm not finding that.
I can go back to message.
This one?
No, down where it says back to message.
Oh. Thank you.
This, yep, where it says up there, blank, blue T. Oops.
It's supposed to open, huh?
No, emails are in there.
Oh, there we go. Here's what you find it, guys.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Please do.
Okay, I make a motion, move to the Board of Supervisors to not take the compensation board's FY 25 3.5% recommended pay raise and to freeze their salary as allowed with 30-day notice for Iowa Code 331.907 prior to the county budget being certified.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to, not accept the 3.5% increase recommended by the Board of Supervisors and freeze the supervisor's salary for fiscal year 25. There further discussion? No. Any comments from anyone listening on the phone? Those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. We have a limited amount of time to talk about, budget reviews, and we can do that in future agenda items. I'd like to leave about at least 10 minutes, between now and a 6 o'clock meeting. So we've got 10 minutes to really talk about these budget reviews.
I think I could, I emailed you right before the meeting. I emailed you this report, like we've reviewed in the past with changes.
Got green highlights.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, but if you want to pass those down to them. And Bob, you've got it in an email, but I've got a hard copy of it. Bob wants one. I'll pass one to Bob, Jim.
Go ahead.
Yeah, yep.
Is this page 2 or number?
It's all one.
All one, okay.
This is all one page.
Okay.
But this is your multiple page one. And just to save time, I don't know if you wanna go through all that or if you just wanna get to the nuts and bolts here.
Well, let's just review this, one page you put through all, how's that?
Okay,
You know what they say, all those.
the one page.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, so at the top of the page, you have your general fund. And, that is at the
Now I
max.
did it, huh?
I didn't do it, so it wasn't me.
I was the one shooting the spitballs.
Yeah,
We're still in session.
yeah, we're still in the second here, we're gonna complete, close 10 minutes, thank you. Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, so, the general fund, we no longer have that $3.50 max because of the House File 718. The 3.5 is reduced to the 3.39806. So the columns that you have here are, the first column is the 0%. It correlates to what we've been looking at here with your 0%, 3% plus comp board and additional wages above that. So you have those columns. And if you just kind of come down to the bottom and you can see, it's 28.35% with a 0% increase, carryover balance, 25.79 with the 20% reduction in the comp board wages, and, everyone else at the 3%. That puts you at 25.79. And when we, with the additional wages in above that, the handful of departments that asked for more than the 3% increase, that puts you at 25.01. So what I've done in here is I've changed some of your expenses from supplemental and shifted them to general fund. Actually, the fiscal year 24 and the fiscal year 25 emergency management contribution, which is 62,000 this fiscal year and 50,000 next year. So I've shifted them out of supplemental to pay for it here, to bring your expenses. If you notice here, your expenses are different. This brings your expenses to to get you at 25% in the general fund for carryover.
Yeah.
And if you look at that middle section, that's the supplemental section. Got your same three columns with 0%, 3%, and then the additional wages. But this one, if you look at the far left column, or excuse me, far right column on there, this is where if you look at those levy rates. Current year's levy rate was $8.08 for supplemental. This, with shifting some expenses to general fund, we can bring this down to 1.4572 for supplemental. And that leaves you, as you can see down here, 25% carryover. So that was just everything.
And that takes the estimated carryover to the minimum 25%.
Yep, on supplemental, correct. And then on rural services, the max that we're able to get because of House File 718 is 3.522422. But with another shift that we did was the sheriff's vehicle out of rural services. And with that, and then what we're doing with we can reduce that tax rate to 3.49797. And get that 25% carryover. This has the rates in that for the supplemental and the rural services, employees who are paid under that. It has the new health insurance rates that we talked about last week. So I think it's sitting pretty good. I think, outside of time to look at all these expenses, I think we've got a pretty good number to go with, for the first hearing that you have, that you wouldn't exceed. The first hearing is that you aren't gonna exceed these tax rates.
What is the date of that first hearing?
That, I figured on Monday, we could set that.
Okay,
You can't set it, the timetable for that is, we have to have the notice go in the mail to, all property owners. That has to include if they're a city taxpayer, the city's rate, the school's rate, school district's rate for their area, and the county's rate.
okay,
Those all have to be due to the auditor. All those entities, or the schools and the cities have to have their tax rates to us by, and their hearing dates to us by March 15th. I know the Department of Management is encouraging them to get them done by the first week of March, that my goal was here too, so that next week you could probably set that date. We'll be ahead of that schedule a little bit, unless you want to make any additional changes. This, I believe we're reducing our total collections of taxes compared to current year as well. I'll find my spreadsheets here. For general services, for general services, fiscal year 24, we were at $5,163,161 in property taxes for the budget. What I'm proposing here is, if we go with that far right column of information, we're reducing, to $4,929,373.
4921.
Four nine five three.
Yeah, the new, these, if you add up your property tax in this column here for general and supplemental, you're at $4,929,373. The difference between current year that we're in and what this proposes for next year is a $233,788 reduction in taxes to collect.
So, this spreadsheet would reduce the tax levy in the general fund and general supplemental fund from last year, where it was at 5.308. $3.50 for the general fund and $1.808 for the supplemental. It would reduce it from 5.308 to 4.85526. State mandated 3.39806 on the general fund. After all the shifting, we'd be reducing the supplemental fund to 1.45720. So that's a total reduction in the levy of 0.45274. We also would be reducing the rural services levy from 3.52422 to 3.49797. Which looks like a $17,000 reduction in the rural services levy, net. Thanks.
17 a month.
17,000. I think that's what we're going from property tax down here.
Actually,
No.
the rural is going up. slightly.
Yeah, the rural is going, yeah, that's what's, so let's get those numbers up, right on the. Are we going to total tax to collect up there, or total taxes levied on property?
You're talking the, on rural service, you're talking the 2372, excuse me, the 2355151
Two, three,
on the far right column.
2355151, where it was previously,
229, let me go the numbers on here. So it's an increase in rural services of 63,796.
796. To 2.355151 million. Right?
Right,
So even though the tax levy is reduced, the total valuation of the rural services went up.
rural services went up.
So we can tax, so we can collect more taxes, or we'll collect more
Rural.
taxes, even though we reduced it by 63,796. Well, that's pretty good. I think we might want a little more discussion about how we want those ending fund balance to look at, but, that's, pretty good. Considering, we're reducing the tax levy. Considerably in these good areas.
It's good news.
Yeah. Anything else on this, to talk about? I think we'll be discussing in some more detail, some of these things at our next meeting. Is there anything else regarding the budget numbers that you want to bring up? Right at this point?
No, the only thing that, I mean, depending if you want to juggle anything else around here.
Yeah.
Jacob is looking at his numbers to see if there's anything he needs to do different, with secondary roads. And so, Monday, when we meet on Monday, we can talk more about these numbers with, he thinks he's had buffered enough with, increase in health and dental insurance that he's probably gonna be okay, but he's just gonna double check his numbers on that.
Okay. Next item, future agenda.
I can't think of anything at this time.
We'll be meeting soon,
Monday,
probably start setting the agenda tomorrow.
I would guess, yeah.
So we'll run down, this idea of how best to negotiate, with the land
Yeah.
and see, how the best way to do that first section
Yeah,
or have someone else negotiate.
when we look at the obvious, I think we needed to be.
Yeah.
Should we invite him to the meeting?
Let's see what, I'd like to talk to County Attorney Pritchard about how to best negotiate something like that. Or
Did
how,
you talk to
how
Todd?
would that work?
I think
You're
we
talking
talked-
about inviting someone to a meeting,
Yep.
like the landowner?
Had you talked to Todd, I think you were gonna talk to Todd about that process, and do that thing.
No, I haven't talked to him about that.
Well, let's look it up.
I do have,
See how that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have some other things for you too, for
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff's position.
Yeah.
Approval of a job description and
Right.
the advertising.
Yeah, all we gotta do is find out from Board of Health, what code section that, or comply, or what they need to know. Really, I think we cited two of them. So get a review of that. I think we're pretty far along on that job description. So that should be on there. Anything else?
Home base Iowa, Tim
Yes.
has reworked that,
Yes.
veterans loan.
All right.
And then cost advisory services has their report.
Yeah, we reviewed the one for county social services
Oh, yeah,
today as
yeah.
well. Yeah, Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, second, been moved by Supervisor Burton, second by Keith to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. We drink water and we'll reconvene.
Yeah, we'll be back in here. Well, somebody's like.
KIN. See that email last week?
Yeah.
It was KIN.
Good thing it fell out.
It's filling,
But I would.
oh, what they call it, IRF.
Shut this. Can we shut this one down?
But anyways, it's a false negative.
Oh, that's.